Hi everyone, Ram Ben Avraham here for aetutsplus.com, and today we're going to create a realistic glass reflection. And first let's have a quick preview. Okay, so to create this effect of glass reflection that's reflecting the background, we're going to need to use two free plugins. The first plugin will be Normality by Stefan Meaning, and you can find it in his site, meaning.de, under Software, Normality. And if you scroll down, you'll find the download link. And I'll say a few words about Normality. Usually Normality is used for lighting passes created inside 3D applications. And I'll try to explain this better. This character was made in a 3D application. This is the actual pass, and this is the normal pass. Now the colors here, the blues, the purples, the greens, so on, help the Normality plugin light the character within After Effects. And that's the original intention of Normality, but we're going to use Normality to make this realistic glass reflection. And we're not going to use any 3D application, we're just going to use After Effects. But Normality Effect still needs to use a normal pass to be able to do these reflections. To do that, we're going to simulate a normal pass within After Effects. And to do that, we're going to use a second plugin. And that second plugin is Normalize by Philip Spot. You can find it here in freezeshuf.com under Free Stuff. And there it is, Normalize. You can download it for Macintosh or Windows. If all I've said until now doesn't make much sense to you, stick around, it's going to make much more sense as we move along in this tutorial. So, let's start, shall we? In the main comp, I've already pre-composed a footage of LA, just a 5 seconds footage. I've already pre-composed it with color correction, and I've already tracked it. So we don't need to see these right now, so let's shy them off. First things first, we need to create our 3D text or 3D shape. I use the AETUTS Plus logo. We're going to have to simulate a normal pass to it. So let's first start with creating the 3D logo. Now I'm going to divide the logo into two parts, the text and the frame, and the other part will be the purple background. And I'm going to do that just to have, if you can see in the final preview, we have different shades of glasses here. And that's why I'm going to the separated parts of the logo. So let's drag in the frame and the text. I'm using a 1280 by 720 30 frames per second. And oh, it needs to be above the LA footage. Okay, and let's scale them down to 50% and pre-compose those. We'll call it text and frame based. Next, what we want to do is convert the text and frame based layer into a 3D layer. And let's switch to custom view so you can see it better. Now I would like to extrude and make it a 3D layer. And there are many ways how to do that, and my favorite way is the old-fashioned way. Just duplicate it and move it back. You can do it in several ways, but there's one expression I like to use best. So first, to use that expression, we need to duplicate this layer, and we'll call the first layer layer 000, and we'll call this one 001. So hit P on the text and frame base 001 layer to reveal its position. Alt click on the stopwatch, and this is the expression we're going to use. Offset equals 1, P equals discomp.layer layer 000, offset interval equals math abs index discomp.layer layer 001.index P position 0, P position 1, P position 2 plus offset of stair invo. What this means is that every time I will duplicate this layer, it will move 1 pixel back. This layer is on the z-axis is on 0, and this one is on 1. And if I'll duplicate it again and hit P, it will be on 2. And that's because it takes its position relatively to the layer 00 and its index. So I'll duplicate it about 40 more times. As you can see, this expression is quite the time saver. Next, what we want to do is give this extruded text ramp, an actual ramp. The reason we need to do that is this is the first step in creating the illusion of a normal path. And to do that, we need each layer to be a bit darker than the other one. The way we're going to do it is quite simple. We're going to use a fill effect, and we'll hit E to reveal the effect. Alt click on the stopwatch of the color, and what we're going to do is add times index and divide it by 50. Okay? So now if I'll take this effect, copy, and select all of them and paste the effect, I get a ramp. And this will help the normality effect in recognizing the depth of this mesh we created here, and that will help create a realistic reflection. Oh, one thing I forgot, in the original preview we had a transition. We needed to create that transition a few steps back, so let's create it right now. To create the transition, let's duplicate this text and frame base. This will be our original one, and this will be text and frame transition. We call it trends. Let's go into text and frame trends, and we don't need these. We'll drag inside the text and frame base. And to use this transition, I used pre-rendered form composition with a mask. You don't have to use this one. You can use just a mask, or you can use a linear wipe transition, whatever you would like. I think this adds a real nice effect to it. The way I used it is just Lumen Edit, and that's it. I get a real nice transition inside here. Only problem is when I get to the end, if I move one frame forward, it will cut. So what we need to do is mark the text and frame base, go to Edit, Split Layer, and that will take care of it. And now we don't see the transition here, and that's because we're not using the correct composition. So let's mark all of them and mark the text and frame trans. Alt click and drag, and that will replace it. And now you can see the transition is already there. Real nice. Next, what we want to do is pre-compose everything here. Oh, sorry. Not here, but here. Pre-compose everything and Control Shift C, and we'll call it text and frame 3D. Great. Now, that's a collapse transformation and turn into a 3D layer, and so we can see it once again inside the custom view. Great. So next, what I want to do is add the normalize effect, which is the last step in that's right. We can see it in custom view. We'll switch to active camera, and we'll create a new camera, 35 millimeters, and let's rotate this one so we can see it quite better. Okay, so immediately you can see the normalize plugin made some effect here. Adding the normalize plugin is the last step in simulating the normal path. And what we want to do is just play with these sliders, the tilt forward, tilt sideways, tilt upwards, and so on and so forth, until you get a nice gradient. One side should be light and one side should be dark, and that's where the fill effect we used before comes in handy. Let me show you. If we didn't have that effect, let's switch off the effect. The normalize plugin wouldn't be efficient at all, and the normality plugin will create our reflection. So let's switch it back on. And we're gonna mess with this plugin a bit more further down the line. But right now, what we want to do is add in the purple background, and we need to go over the same steps we did for the text and frame. I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll see you again in a few seconds. Now I've got these layers duplicated. And one thing I forgot to mention, if I'll go to text and frame base, whatever I'll put in here, let's say I'll put a new text, glass, and scale it up and put it in the middle. That's the magic of pre-composing. Everything I will put in here, in the base, where is it? There it is, will appear here, which is very, very convenient. So just to let you know how easy pre-composing makes life. Moving on, I've got the purple background 3D and I've got the text and frame 3D. I'll I'll just duplicate this one and switch it to this one. Okay, so right now everything. Okay, this looks a bit better. Now these two frames has the same parameters, so I'll need to play with them a bit. Let's try and invert them. See how that looks. Okay, and that looks fine. Actually, let's switch to front view. Rotate them back. Oh, I see I've got a little bit of a problem here. Okay, let me fix that. Okay, they're all better. I'm sorry, it just was it had to do with the way I cropped things in inside Photoshop, and now it's all better. But as you can see, the normalize plugin gets cut here for some reason. The way to get around that, we'll create a new null object, and we'll make it a 3D object, and we'll parent these two layers to the null, which will make the animation a lot easier. And let's move it back to the background. Okay, much better. Next, what we want to do is pre-compose everything in this composition. So Control-Shift-C, and we'll call it Logo 3D. Inside Logo 3D, let's create the animation. In frame 0, we want the Y rotation to be 0, and in frame 4 seconds, in 4 seconds mark, we want to complete one circle. So it will rotate around its own axis, on the y-axis, for one circle. Okay, let's mark them both and hit F9 on the keyboard to make. Now the screen recording software I'm using is preventing me of using F9, so I need to do this manually. Keyframe resistant, easy ease. Okay, and let's switch to graph mode, and we want to be a bit on the motion to be very smooth and very mellow at first, and get faster during the end. Okay, let's see if the animation works fine. Great. More than that, I would like the text and frame to appear first and then the purple background. So let's go back to the transition, and I want the transition of the purple background to begin here. Let's switch this one here and move this one here, and let's see. Great. Absolutely great. Okay, so next what we've got here, we got a logo with a normal pass. Well, something that simulates a normal pass. And we got a nice transition and a nice animation. And now we are all ready to use our normality plugin. When you first apply it, it will just turn to black. And that's because normality needs a light to light the objects. So create a new light. I'm using a point light, 100% intensity, just white light. And let's see, let's move it back a bit. Oh, forward should be okay. Oops, sorry. Great. Right now it's absolutely gray. boring, and let's move on. There are a lot of parameters here in the normality plugin, and I'm not going to go through them because this is not a normality tutorial. This is a reflection tutorial. And we'll just move down to the reflection and enable it, and nothing happens because we need something to reflect on the logo. So we'll need to create a reflection map. But first let's put things in order here. So this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one will be in this folder. Okay, great. And we'll duplicate the LA footage and call it reflection map. So now let's drag the reflection map inside our comp, and we'll put it here. Oh, sorry. We'll place it underneath the LA footage, and we don't really need to see it. And let's apply environment map, reflection map. And we need to change from spherical to panorama. And let's have a quick preview. Okay, nothing very exciting. The reason it doesn't look very exciting is that it reflects the very same background we're using. Here's how we're going to change that into something more exciting. First, oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Let me erase these and drag in the LA footage into the reflection map. Okay, great. So now what we're going to do is mess a bit with the reflection map. First I'm going to cut the reflection map in half. So let me just turn on the title action save so I can see the center. Okay, great. And now I'm gonna move this layer. Oh, sorry. Let's make this as accurate as possible. Okay, great. Now I'll move this part of the reflection map to the left, to the right, sorry. Now I can't really, the plugin doesn't really allow us to have a real reflection, so we need to simulate it, and we'll need to cheat a little bit. So I just duplicated the layer and moved it to the left, and I'll hit scale, and sorry. Okay, great. Oh, I've got here a bit of a gap, so I'll just expand the mask. And also here, I've got a little gap, so I'll expand the mask. Just a bit, great. So now my reflection map doesn't reflect the background, it reflects something that could be in front of the camera that shot this footage. But still, it doesn't look quite right. It looks too static, because as the logo turns, it should reflect the stuff going on here, and as it turns here, it should reflect something that goes on here, and it still doesn't look quite right. So next, what we're going to do, we're going to pre-compose these two layers, Control Shift C, and we'll call it reflection map pre-comp. And to this reflection map, what we're going to add is CC sphere. Let's change the radius so it needs to fill all the logo, but you can't really see it because it's real dark. So let's see how we can. Okay, let's move the play a bit with the different values. Okay, diffuse should say 100, specular could be a lot brighter, roughness should be brighter, and we lower the metal. And now we're going to move the light height to about here, and the intensity could be higher. So now we can see the reflection map isn't in the correct position. We'll just scale it up and just move it a bit to the right until it fills the whole logo. Okay, great. So now we're getting some bit more convincing, but still it's too static. So what we need to do next is rotate the sphere. We'll rotate it on the y-axis. In 0.0 in time it needs to be 0, and same as with the logo, at 0.4 it needs to be to complete one circle. But if it will move like the circle, it still won't look that convincing. So we'll need it to move on the negative value to -1. Great. And let's make it easy ease motion. Keep it consistent, easy ease. Great. Now to get even a more convincing reflection effect, what we can do is, let's close this rotation, we'll go to shading once more and add the reflection. We'll increase the reflection so we can get that sphere reflection out of it, and it needs to reflect itself. Let's see how that looks. There you can see the, you can see the reflection breaks here, and it adds to that sense of having a actual reflecting glass here. Now, if you're not happy with the way the logo and the frame and the purple background looks, you can always go back and play with the normalize effect. That's a darker color. We'll give you a darker color in the glass reflection, and a lighter color will give you a lighter color as well. Now there is an option to give your reflection a blur. So if I'll blur it to 10, you see you get a real nice blur. But I would like the purple background to be blurred more than the frame and the text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this logo 3D, and I'm going to call this one text and frame 3D animation, and this one I'll call purple background 3D animation. In text and frame 3D animation we don't need the purple background, and in purple background we don't need the text. So right now we got the only text. We'll duplicate it, alt click and drag the purple background and place it below the text. And now if I'll blur it to about 5, the background is a lot blurrier than the text. One thing I forgot to mention is that the normality plugin works best when it's 32 and not 8 bits. So alt click on the 8 bit twice and it will be a lot sharper than it is right now. Now you can play with the reflection map to have it reflect something a bit nicer. Let's say that, let's see, I want to start reflect from this point, and let's see how that looks. Of course, working in 32 bits is a whole lot heavier for the machine. Now, one more thing about the normality plugin. In the reflection section, you can change the blending modes, and the default is add. And I found that inverse color dodge works a whole lot better for me in this particular case. Now, if I'll go to the reflection map pre-comp and add an adjustment layer, and to that adjustment layer I'll add an exposure effect, and on the negative side I'll place it on 1.5 maybe, or 1.8. Just get a bit more darker. You can have a much nicer effect here in my eyes. And let me just lower down the resolution so we can work faster here. And we'll set it back to 8 bits. I added an exposure effect. And let's see, when the logo completes its turn, I want the exposure to be at 1, just burned out. And let's hit U to see the animation. And let's see at 0.3, 0.15, it needs to be 0. And let's give it another, and here will be 0 again. So we get a nice effect. And we'll copy this one and place it here. Let's just make sure it, oh yes. Okay, so that's it, folks. What I've covered here is just the tip of the iceberg. The options are endless with this very, very, very nice plugin, very nice free plugin, the normality and the normalize that makes it all possible. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Feel free to experiment with it. Once again, my name is Ramel Avraham, and I'll see you next time.